think we're about ready. Yep, I think we are. Right, so let's get rid of this. Like so. There we go. Everything seems to be working so far. Turn the preview off. Hop in here. Yep, it all holds together. All right. Every time it works, it's a miracle, I have to say. Right, so we're going to fly this Airbus from New York to North Carolina. Give it a minute for the frame rate to stabilize. There it is. And this is, well, the aircraft itself is base game. This is the Airbus 320. God, the frame rate. Airbus 320 Neo. And then we're going to be running the fly-by-wire a32nx mod. Yep, I think I said all that right. Fried, how you doing, my man? How's Monday treating you? And the reason we're going to be using this mod is a lot of these screens, and you'll see when we get everything fired up, a lot of these screens in the base game aircraft don't do anything. A lot of these buttons don't do anything. So this mod, the game's only been out for a couple of months, and this mod is already available, and they're trying to fill in some of this stuff. I get it. I get some of the complaints about the sim from day one have been that it's more kind of a sightseeing sort of sim, right? But it's not really a proper flight sim like the older versions of Flight Simulator or like X-Plane or something. So yeah, we'll see what we can do to get that sorted out. And this also, in the base game version of this aircraft, the checklist is 3 pages long, and it's got a few items on each one. And you can see it, like, it just absolutely blows up the checklist. So we'll work through all that, and we are going to do a cold and dark start. Got a little bit of a headache, but all good. Well, that's no good. Are you hydrated? When I get a headache, it's typically because I'm dehydrated. Not giving you medical advice or anything. It's not like that. Just asking if you're hydrated. All right, so the first thing we got to do is we need our jetway hooked up. And to do that, we need to turn on some power. So we're going to do right here, get 2 batteries on, and that opens up our radios. And once we have radios, we can come here. We can ask for power cart. All right, we'll hop out here. There's the power truck, right? Get a little juice going. Oh, that's no good. Are you traveling for work? What's keeping you in the car so long? And then we also want our jetway. We're going a little bit third person here, but I'll try to keep it to a minimum. All right, and we'll hop back in here. Get rid of this momentarily. And once we get this hooked up, we can get the crew on board and get things moving. Okay, so checklist. And I'm going to miss a lot of stuff, by the way. You know, I'm not a real pilot. Not a real pilot. I want to be, but I'm not a real pilot. All right, engine master switches all off. Those are down here. Yep, off, off. Engine mode selector is norm. Landing gear lever check down. Wipers off. Battery switches, we just turned those on, right? External power on if available. That is right there. APU fire test. I think that has not been installed yet. Yeah, I don't think we have an option for that yet. Right. APU start. APU master switch on. That's that one right there. And then APU start. We'll give that a minute to fire up. And then if we look down here, get a little bit more brightness in these. So typically this would have, this lower display would have barely anything in it, but now it's got a ton of stuff, including an APU menu. And as we watch, this will start to fire up. We'll see our exhaust temperature come up, and we will be making internal power. All right, on. Oh, that's super cool. How's it going? And we got a warning. Yep, TCAS fault. How's it working out for you so far? And TCAS is going to be, I believe, these up here, but we'll get to those in a second. We just got to keep working our way through the checklist. So we've got, yep, APU is fired up, and if we come up here now, cockpit lights as required, so we'll put on some dome lights, right? Parking brake is on, flaps up. Some of this stuff I'm going to skip through because we would be here for seriously like 40 minutes. Probe heat to auto, there's that. APU bleed on. All right. Check overhead for white lights, fuel pumps. Need those, like so. Anything that says INOP, that's inoperative. So nothing going there. Electrical panel on overhead panel is, let's wait till our APU kicks in. Right, so we have available now, so we do have APU power, and if we look outside, we can get rid of our power cart here. It's not telling me to do that yet, but I think it's safe to do that. So if we go back in here, and like I said, this is a work in progress. So we can come off external power, and we can end power supply. Start creating stuff. There's a lot to do before I'm ready to sell. Yeah, there always is. And we'll get some baggage going. And we'll also get the catering going. I love this stuff. I really do. I don't know what it is about these details. And if we go to doors, now we can see that our main cabin door is open. That's where we're loading. And we also have the cargo door open for the baggage. And the rear cabin door is open for catering. So continuing through here, where were we? Parking brake on, flaps up, speed brake lever disarmed and retracted. Yep. Disarmed and retracted. And we've got, there's also a 7-minute wait. Probe window heat to auto. APU bleed is on. As required, electrical panel, ventilation panel. Cam pages, yep, emergency equipment. Exterior check. Right. Like I said, we're going to skip a lot of stuff. CVR test. These we need to get going. These are right here. We're going to set all three of these to nav. And when we do, they're going to say align. And then if we look down here on this menu, IR in alignment 7 minutes. So we've got a 7-minute wait for it to gather all the data. And you can see if we look on our main display here, map not available, it's going to take that long to download the database and get everything moved into the system. And that's all going into this box right here. The box, they call it. Some airlines call it the no, it's not the MFD, it's the FMC, the Flight Management Computer. Others call it the MGDC. Different airlines have different names for it, but this box does everything. This box is what I'm trying to learn, but it's a bit complicated. Fried, we are flying to Raleigh, North Carolina. Nav, so we got that. Exterior lights. Let's get some beacons on. Beacons are right here, right? Keep things nice and safe. We're going to leave nav lights off for now. No smoking signs to auto. So about 3/4 of what I'm doing right now is not in base game. This is all coming from the mod. Seatbelt signs on. Emergency exit lights arm. That's this one. Yep. Landing elevation, inoperative, inoperative. Battery 1 and 2, off, then on. Okay, off, then on. 1, 2, fuel mode selector inoperative. Engine 1 and 2 fire test. That is going to be right here. Right? Engine 1, 2, audio switching panel normal, inoperative. Okay. Maintenance panel. All lights are out. Green nav light. Select, yeah, some of this stuff, like I said, I need to watch a lot of videos until I have all this stuff. And even with the checklist, I'm struggling with it. All right, 6 minutes to go. We're cooking. And what else? Oh, let's do some, we can go back to ATIS. Back to clearance. We can come in here. Here we go. Three 0.10. And that puts us at 20 feet. Right about there. All right. So, still waiting on that. Anything else we can do while we're waiting? Right in here, comms. Obtain IFR clearance, we can do that. Come right over here. All right. So we got that done. This stuff I believe is going to be added. So the flight management database, that's going to be down here. And we've got a few more minutes to go. Yep. So I can't really do a lot with the box yet because it is still programming. But this has, there's so many things that are involved in this. The only problem is, like, half of them have been left out. And like I said to start the video, that's been one of the complaints about this sim, is that it's not quite a sim. There's a lot of things missing. And for all the millions of dollars that they spent building the game and all the years that they took to do it, you would think that they would have been able to put that stuff in. I think that stuff is a lot less complex to code and make work than some of the terrain stuff. The terrain stuff is all new. Nobody's ever done that before. But all this other stuff has been done for 20 years. It's being done in X-Plane 11 right now. I mean, these modders are doing it for free just within the past couple months. So it's not some crazy technology beyond the reach of humankind. You know, it can be done. But for some reason, Asoba decided to leave a lot of that stuff out. I don't fully understand it. So we'll get that going, and we've also, you know what, we can open this now. We can open the, we can open the VFR map without causing the game to crash, but we're going to be taking off from right over here. And so once we back up, we'll just cut right across here, right across the tarmac, and take off. So we won't have far to taxi. And then I think our flight time is going to be about an hour, a little over an hour. So it should be a fun flight. And we're flying in real conditions as well, so it's a little bit cloudy and there's some thunder. And it's sort of raining on and off where I am today. So we'll see how that is when we get airborne. But yeah, I'm really liking this sim. I have no real complaints about it. And there are things that I assume are going to be added later, because a lot of these buttons that say inoperative, right? Let me find a good one here. Of course, I can't find one now. A lot of these that say INOP, they're going to add something to them later. They just haven't added it yet. I believe they are. I think they are. But we will see. All right. if you do this according to the checklist, you can't get the TCAS calibrating straight away. You got to do some other stuff first. So, yeah, that's the delay. And some of this stuff, yeah, flex to temp, takeoff shift. Yep, I'll go over some of this stuff in my limited ability to go over it. I don't have it completely dialed yet by any means. And I think, well, I know one of the videos that I've been watching, one of the channels that I've been watching is a real 320 pilot. And I think it takes a long time to learn to fly an airliner. I mean, I know it sounds like a given, but I really think it does. There are, yeah, short answer is yes, there are good mods for it. This mod that I'm in right now is made by Fly-by-Wire. It is the a32nx mod, and it essentially just adds functionality to the in-game Airbus 320. I got some skin mods. There we go. So this all populated now. And when we go back here, now we can see we have all this information. So when it was talking about, in fact, let me, just to make things easier, let's go here. And let's zoom in on this. We'll get rid of this. So we want, is it performance? Is it program? Is it field prediction? Yeah, I feel like there we go. Yeah, there are a ton of things in here that I don't fully understand yet, and I'm trying to like learn them a little bit at a time. But for now, and what's our cruising altitude? 37,000. And then, all right. So your goal is to get all these like filled in. But this is going to be our flight plan here. We'll move through these, and they are correspondingly up here, these little markers. So this definitely brings a lot to the sim, but it's also going to be, there's going to be a long learning curve for me to figure this stuff out. So if we go back here, is it here? No. Is it here? What are we looking for? Here we go. It's right in here. So this is climbing out. We're going to be managed at a speed of 178. In flight, we'll be at 250. This is cabin pressurization, etc. Descent, right? And this is going to be going into RDU. We're landing on ILS runway 5 left. And as we get closer, we'll put in temperature, pressure, wind, and it will help set everything up for our landing phase. It'll give us numbers for slats and flaps, where we want to touch down on the runway, all kinds of stuff. I don't understand all of it yet. I'm by no means an expert, but that is the goal. All right, so that looks good. Takeoff data, we're just going to call that good. Frequencies, glare shield, integral and floodlights. Let's do this. I do like a cold and dark start, but it's definitely, it's a good way to go through a couple glasses of wine, I have to tell you. It takes a minute. All right, so right here, if I can find the trigger for it, there it is. Get those off and bring these up. All right, a little brighter there. Barometer set, EFIS, right, FCU. That is set. Cruise supply is right here, right? Inoperative. Instrument panels, right, good there. And takeoff briefing. All right, I think we are just about ready. I'm going to request our taxi, and we'll be on our way here. So we will go to ground services, get rid of the jetway. There goes that. And if we go back here now, we're all green on doors. Right? And I think we can get taxi clearance and push back. All right.
Ground portable 6571 with Tango ready to taxi IFR.
Portable 6571 taxi to and hold short of runway 31 left via taxiway Foxtrot Alpha Golf cross runway 22 right Golf Zulu. Contact tower on 119.11 ready.
All right.
Taxiing hold short runway 31 left using taxiway Foxtrot Alpha Golf cross runway 22 right Golf Zulu portable 6571.
So brakes off right there, and we want push back. And I think we can go straight back and then to the left. Yeah, that looks about right. I made this skin earlier today. The sim, pardon me, the sim does not make skinning very easy. And I can't understand why. In 2020, you would think, because every game has really comprehensive, that's a good word for it, character creation, RPG games, shooting games, everything. You can build your character, you can dress just the way you want, you can really personalize the game. And they have to know, as many skins as there are for X-Plane and FSX, they have to know how much people love skinning planes. I don't know why that wouldn't be included. I did make the skin. All right, so we're making a left turn here. Hopefully nobody's going to pull in and park because we pushed back to the left a little too soon. All right, so let's just stop right there.
Ground portable 6571 requesting the end of pushback.
Hop back in here. Thank you, Fried. I appreciate that. Let's set the brakes and let's get some engines going here. Engine startup. Parking brake as required. Thrust levers, beacon lights, windows and doors closed. Pushback startup clearance, we have that. External power off and disconnected. Here we go. So we want, like so. Fuel pumps are on, right? So then we come down here. And we'll see if we, yep. Everything is spooling up. It sounds weird to say it, but I really like the way the engines in this plane sound. They have a very, almost kind of a futuristic sound to them. I imagine they're extremely efficient, but they just have a very pleasant kind of whine to them. All right, so we'll wait for engine 2 to get stable. Start up engine 1. All right. There we go. And we get this one going now. And I'm going to get some taxi lights on. Just because we are away from the gate. We don't need nav lights yet. All right. So that's a really simple procedure in this plane. You just basically flip the start over and then turn the engines on one at a time. So that's good. We'll go here now. I'm hurrying a little bit, but I do want to wait till these are up and stabilized. right. There we go. So engine mode selector to normal now. God, I got bed use on top of bed use. So this goes back to normal now. APU bleed off. APU bleed off. Ground spoilers arm. Right. Rudder trim. Flaps. Pitch trim. ECAM. Engine and wing anti-ice as required. APU off. APU off. ECAM door page is it? It's right there. Yep, all doors are green. So we'll do our, if I can find it, auto brake to max. There we go. And cabin check. I feel like I don't have an option for that. There we go. Lock the cabin door. Yeah, there may be a way to check this, but if there is, I don't know it yet. Clear to disconnect. Announce. All right. Nose light to taxi. Runway turnoff lights. Don't need those. Parking brake off. All right. Flight controls. Auto brakes. Max. ATC clearance. Confirm. Runway. Right. We have those. Flex to temperature. That sort of stuff. We're not going to put that back in. Takes too long. Heading on FCU is required. Flight director on. Right. Weather radar as required. Yeah, it's kind of gnarly, so we'll flip that on. Predictive wind shear to auto. That is auto. Squawk code confirmed. Cabin report. All right. I think we're ready. Yep, I think we're ready. Okay. So we're going to fold that for now. Brakes are off. All right, here we go. And I think we want to go get our map open here. Yeah, kind of straight and like right across runway 22. Try to get on a stripe here. Yeah, this is 22, so we'll go across here, check for traffic. Looks good, and then I believe we're just going to turn this way now. Oh dear. Let's let's see what this fella's up to. Sir, can I help you? Yeah, we need to go right down there. We sort of missed our turn. Let's go right behind this one. I suspect this is way too wide, but I don't want to end up in the grass. All right, here we go. So we'll go over this way now. All right. Every time I open this VFR map, it just makes me nervous. It feels like it wants to crash. And then sort of off to the south here. So we'll go this way. Is it this one? Yep, I think this is us right here. Three one left, 3-1 left. Amazing. Oh, oh, stop. All right. Going a little faster than I thought. So we can get rid of this now. Open this, Kennedy Tower.
Kennedy Tower, portable 6571 at runway 31, left ready for takeoff IFR to Raleigh. Portable 6571 cleared for takeoff runway 31 left.
All right.
Cleared for takeoff runway 31.
We're going to get rid of that.
6571.
Right, like that. And I've been trying to, like, there's a really specific procedure for this. Is that wrong? Should that be happening? All right, so what we want is, we want flex, which is right there. We'll keep the nose down to about 100 knots. We're going to rotate at 130. So rotate. There we are. Gear up, positive rate. That S Sierra on the speed tape is, bring the flaps up. And we're looking for down here now, climb thrust. And when we get that, we'll back the throttles off. But other than that, we are.
Portable 6571, contact New York departure on 123.7.
Right. So we go here.
123.7, portable 6571.
Right.
New York departure.
So lever CLB means we want to back the throttle off to climb. And that will engage the auto throttle and keep us at a managed speed all the way out. All right, and then we go to autopilot. That's going to put us on course. Continue as planned so we can follow our own waypoints out of that airspace. And that's it. That's takeoff. And these are all on. That's auto. Yeah, I thought that was already on auto. All right, so crank this up a little bit. That's all good. That's all good. I don't know how well you can hear the engines, but they will manage everything. Like, we're right at 250. We're supposed to be right at 250. Keep us, because we're under 10,000 feet, we want to keep our speed down, but it is, I think, a bit high. And also the climb and everything will be, all that will be managed by the box. There we go. Yeah, right at 250. So I'm enjoying it. I mean, I love flying this plane. I just don't know exactly what I'm doing yet, but I'm definitely enjoying it. All right, and all this is good down here. Yep, I want to get our fuel panel open. There we go. We'll hop outside for a minute. There we go. All right.
118.975. New York Center, portable 6571 is at 8,000
so that's on.
Portable 6571 climb and maintain flight level 220.
220.
Climb and maintain flight level 220, portable 6571.
You got it. If I can find it. Are we frozen? Oh, it's so scary. Frozen for a second, but we unfroze. All right, so we'll go to 2000. Yeah, it is. It's got to be the best looking flight sim I've ever seen. I haven't been in X-Plane since I got this. The graphics are really, and this is not ultra settings. And I'm on a 1660 Ti, which is it's a decent card, but it's an economy card. It's not a 3080 by any means. And we're in 1920 by 1080. And we're not on 4K or anything. It's just what they're able to get out of the game is really, really impressive. I think it looks fantastic. I did a flight in Ireland a couple weeks ago. It's the lowest that I've ever flown, or the longest I've ever flown that low to the ground. We were at about 1,000 feet, more or less all the way across Ireland. And you could see individual animals and hay bales in fields. Just really, really amazing to look at. I can't imagine what this would be in 4K on a super hot system. It'd be amazing. It'd be more amazing. I think it's already amazing. All right, so all of this is managed, and the information that we put in, all the different profiles that we build in the box determine like how fast you climb, the various speeds that you're at. You can put in cost profiles, I want to say, and those are determined by the company that you work for, the airline you work for. Everybody's got different cost profiles, and it's essentially how much fuel you're going to burn per mile per hour of speed and various other things. But that all comes in with that mod. Well, I wouldn't say all of it. Some of it is included in the flight management system in base game, but they add a lot to it. That's all the stuff I'm working on learning right now. And I think, yeah, we could probably turn off seat belts. There we go. Start serving some cocktails and peanuts. And that's more or less it. We're just going to cruise down over New Jersey, Delaware, Virginia, and then we'll start our descent into Raleigh. Oh, it sounded like I almost knew what I was talking about there. And yep, that's all good. It's all good. When we get up above these clouds, I'll turn the weather radar off. I typically don't fly airliners. I prefer flying smaller general aviation aircraft. The Citation is about the biggest plane I like flying, but I wanted to give this one a try. I haven't flown the 747 yet, other than to just take off and fly around a little bit.
Portable 6571 traffic is 9 o'clock, 4 miles at flight level 225 generic.
9 o'clock,
Report them in sight.
4 miles. I don't see them. Oh,
And maintain 2,800
there they are, right there.
runways. 4 left approach via Kilmer transition, cleared to Kilmer Brickyard Tree 440.
Traffic in sight.
Descend and maintain 16,000 feet in river 4652. Brickyard Tree 440, contact New York approach on 132.8.
And then the final piece of the puzzle will be
Portable 6571, contact Washington Center on LNE 24.775.
right. So we're going to say 124.775 for
On LNE 21.125.
portable 6571. Okay.
132.8.
If we can get it at a worded edgewise here.
Decimal 775 for portable 6571.
All right, Washington Center.
New York Center
All right. Continue to brief. Got 50.
6571 climb.
All right.
Maintain flight level 320.
320, you got it.
United 1255, you are 67 miles southwest. Descend and maintain 10,000 feet. Expect vectors ILS runway 13 approach.
There we go. So brief is our next waypoint. It's up here in this display, and then it's also down here in this display.
Descend and maintain 10,000 feet. Expect vectors ILS runway 13 approach. United ONA 255. Climb and maintain flight level 320. Portable 6571.
There we go. Where am I from? I was born in Pennsylvania. I spent half my childhood in Pennsylvania with my mom and half of it in London with my father. And since I escaped when I was 17, I've just been traveling and living all over the world. I live on Lake Tahoe. I live in South Lake Tahoe right now, but at the moment I'm in North Carolina.
1094, you are 73 miles southwest. Descend and maintain 10,000 feet. Expect vectors ILS runway 13 approach.
All right, and at some point we did switch over to the Mach. So down here now we're at 0.65 of the Mach. And as we continue to climb, our true airspeed and our ground speed will increase, but will decrease over here. And then eventually you'll see some red marks coming down from above. That's our maximum speed. And even though this speed is increasing, the speed on the tape will decrease as we gain altitude. It has something to do with aerodynamics, science, math of some kind. All right, so we're going to 128.3 now.
New York Center, portable 6571 is climbing through flight level 260 for flight level 320.
Portable 6571 New York Center. Continue to brief as planned.
Continue to brief as planned. Yep. Favorite place I've ever been, Colorado. Hands down. It's Colorado. If God made anything better than Colorado, he's keeping it to himself. He's not telling us about it. It is... I don't even have words for Colorado. California is great because it does have ocean, mountains, massive cities, right? It's got everything. Colorado just really, to me, it just has the mountains, but the mountains in Colorado are like, I don't know. Spread my ashes over Colorado when I'm gone. I've never felt more at home anywhere than I have there. All right, and we're coming up on 32,000 feet. Now, reference altitude is something else. So we had an altitude when we took off. We'll have an altitude when we land. But in between, and because there's really nothing for us to hit, we're at 6 miles in the air. I believe we're meant to go to reference altitude at some point, and so any flight level changes that we get from ATC is based on what is it, 32.20 or 29.32 reference altitude. Well, when I snap to it, you'll see it. But I'm constantly being told you're 300 feet above or 300 feet below your assigned altitude, and I think it's because we're on the ATIS altitude that we got at the airport versus the reference altitude. And again, this is stuff that they probably teach you in like pilot school or something, but I never been to pilot school. All right. And we can turn this off now too. We're well up above the clouds. So we want this like so. All right. That cleans things up a little bit. And we also want constraints. We'll need that when we get ready to land. So two of the biggest complaints that I've heard about this game, it's like there's one group of fanboys that says, oh, it's just a VFR simulator. It's a sightseeing simulator. it's not a real flight simulator. It's just a console game. It's not realistic enough. And then on the other side, you've got people saying that it's just an ILS simulator. It's just an autopilot simulator. There's no real challenges in it. All you do is just get in, turn the autopilot on, and right. So I don't know. It's like nobody's happy. You got it. 124.775. I'm gonna hop back outside because there's nothing really going on. Go here. And like so. All right. 380, you got it. So we come here. So I don't know how exactly to do this, but I think there's a way to do it. Yeah, man, I was doing the thing. All right. All right, so if we go down here, for all these waypoints, there's an altitude, right? So for brief, it's 20,700. For Echo November Oscar, it's 25,200. 32,000 looks like 600. And as far as I know, like when you go to managed altitude, from the minute that you take off, the computer will fly you to these altitudes, and I understand them to be very specifically programmed to maximize fuel economy. So the altitudes that ATC is sending us to are not what our company wants us to be at. But at the moment, I don't know how to fix that. I think if you use VATSIM and you have real ATC, when they read your flight plan, it's got altitudes for all those different waypoints. I want to get VATSIM going, but I'm intimidated. I'm a little bit scared of VATSIM. Yeah, there are always complainers, and I complain about games too. But I just feel like there's a difference between saying there's something wrong with this game, it's broken, right? Like in this case, this aircraft in base game, probably half these controls don't work, right? They're inoperative. Now maybe they'll fill them out later, maybe they won't. But on first release, this Airbus had a broken autopilot. It just didn't work. The VFR map, they put out a patch where when you open the VFR map, the game crashes. Well, that's a bug. That's not a matter of opinion. That's a bug. I think complaining about that sort of thing is valid, maybe. It's okay to do that. But then for people to say, well, this is too much of a console game. Yeah, maybe. I mean, you can go third person. And, I don't even know how to do it. You can go third person, like so. And then down here, you can throw up a HUD with instruments on it, and you can just fly around like this. And real sim pilots, they say that's no good. You can't do that. Well, why not, man? If you just want to fly a plane, why not? It took us half an hour to get off the ground. Not everybody wants to do that. Not everybody has the time to do that. So, yeah, okay. It's a console game. It's a video game. Who cares, man? Who cares? That sort of stuff I don't understand. And something like Project Cars 3, perfect example. Project Cars 3 it's obviously meant to compete with Forza. When they released the first trailer for it, within 15 seconds of the trailer starting, cars were drifting and banging into each other. Okay, so you play it like Forza. That's cool. That's not for me, but I wouldn't say that there's anything wrong with that. It's just a different kind of a game. So to complain about Project Cars 3 and say that the game is broken or that it, yeah, no, you just don't like it. There's a difference between a game being broken and just not liking it. And there are plenty of games that work fine that I just don't like. Okay, don't buy them, don't play them. And there are other games that I love even though they really don't work well at all and they have tons of bugs. It doesn't mean that's a good game. It just means I like it. So I think if people were more clear about that, it would solve some of the drama. But on the internet, you know, can you really expect people to be disciplined or calm or rational? That's not what the internet is for. All right, I'm going to reach down here and have a drink of water. And I just realized as I was reaching down for my water, it looked like I was reaching down for my water. This next part is going to get a little grim because I have to tilt my head back, but so it goes. All right. So let's see where in the world we are. Oh, and this is what I was trying to explain earlier. So our speed on the ribbon is still about 260, but we're now at 0.78 of the Mach and almost 400 knots ground speed. True airspeed of 450. So as your elevation changes, all kinds of things happen with pressure and density, oxygen or something. I don't know. Something. So the managed, is it here? Yeah, managed airspeed mode is calculating all this and keeping it all where it needs to be. I was going to go back out here. Let's go here. Let's see where we are. So we're just crossing from New Jersey over, this is Delaware, is it not? I know geography. And then from there, once we get over Virginia, we'll start descending right about in here somewhere. And we're making pretty good time. Hop back out here. Roll that up. Yeah, it's not perfect, but I don't think any sim is. I don't know that I've ever played a perfect sim. Assetto Corsa Competizione is pretty close. There's not a lot that I could point to in that game that could be fixed. Trying to think of other ones. Truck Simulator. Both the truck sims, as much as I love them, I do need to sort of, you know, you want to squint your eyes a little bit when you play them just to make them look better. They're extremely engaging games. They're a lot of fun to play. But every year it's like they look a little bit more dated. So we'll see what they're able to do with them. And what else? Visually, I'm like clicking through all my sims that I have in my library right now. Continue to Graco. Where is that? 27 miles. Right here, and we do have constraints on, right? And if I went the other way, try to think of the worst sim. I mean, Cattle and Crops it's sort of, they're easy to pick on because that game has taken so long and it is sort of buggy and it just has the one map. But it's a small crew and they did eventually get it done. Continue to Graco. That's us. Yeah, I think ATS looks better visually, and I think the world is a lot more accurate as far as like turns and ramps and distances. When I look at the oldest parts of ETS, it really does feel a lot more like a video game. And when I look at the newest parts of ATS, it feels a lot more like a sim. So if ATS, sorry, I'm trying to listen to ATS with one ear here. If ATS was made 4 years after ETS, I think that was 4 more years of experience they had. In the same way that the new DLC for both, really, for ETS and ATS, the new DLC looks so much better. And I think they're a lot more realistic too. It's just time and experience. What do you think is going to happen with that game? Are they going to keep pouring DLC into it like the Train Simulator franchise, or are they going to re-up it and make ATS2 and ETS3? What do you think? I just realized I haven't looked at my paint from underneath. That's alright. Oh, that's not alright. That needs a little work right there. You know, Fried, I think you're right. I think they may have boxed themselves in the same way that Dovetail did with the Train Simulator franchise. Not Train Sim World, but the other one. Yeah, I agree. I feel like the amount of DLC that people have bought for Train Simulator, if Dovetail were to abandon that, the fan base would just be furious. And it could be that it would get turned over to a modding crew, and they would keep it going, you know, do what they can to keep it current. But I mean, a lot of people have spent a lot of money on DLC for Truck Sim. I don't know how they would handle that if they went to a new title. I don't know if everything that they've released as DLC so far would be included, and then you would buy more DLC afterwards, or if you would have to re-buy all that DLC for a new sim. Because I don't want to buy Oregon and Washington and Idaho again, you know. I really don't know how they would handle that without pissing people off. Unless they just released the whole game with all of Europe or all of the US for like $99 and called it good. But how long would it take to do that? That would take years. Look how long it's taken them just to get Europe done. It's been 8 years. I don't know. And there's 100 people working for SCS now, but that's hardly the size of a studio like Ubisoft or Blizzard or Activision or one of those. I don't know if it will either. And I don't know what they would do as they got closer and closer to the East Coast, because everything gets so dense and packed in. I don't know how they'd handle that. Now, in fairness, from LA to San Diego, that's pretty dense too in the real world. But in ATS, it's a little spread out. You know, in reality, it's cities, I don't know. It's cities every exit from like Ventura County all the way to the Mexican border. But in Truck Sim, it's like you get Oxnard and then LA. And I'm trying to think, I don't know if there's even a decent sized city between LA and San Diego in Truck Sim. But in real life, there's a ton of stuff. All right. So for the East Coast, imagine that times 2, times 3. I just don't know how they'd replicate that. I mean, it's a little bit stylized. When you look at Europe, parts of Europe are pretty compact and dense, and they find a way to make it work. So, unknown. So I saw this Playway train sim that looks like they may be taking a shot at Train Sim World. And that got me wondering if anybody would ever take a shot at Truck Simulator. Because I think, yeah, ETS is the 5th highest rated game on Steam at the moment. Like, of all the thousands and thousands of titles on Steam, ETS2 has the 5th highest, up upvote rating, like rating. So I think a studio might see that and wonder if they couldn't get in on that truck sim market. You know, if they couldn't try to do better somehow. I've got, I can't pop it open at the moment, but I've got little nav map running, and there are just aircraft all around us. Very dense. Yeah. Well, Belgium was Belgium, Germany, Holland. I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, it was about it. Switzerland, maybe Austria. Those were the countries that were in the original release before they had any DLC. So those are going to be the oldest parts of ETS2. But yeah, I agree with you. It doesn't. I don't know. It's almost an impossible task to recreate that world and have it playable. I mean, you could make it 1-to-1, but the game would be 300 gigabytes, and all you would do is sit in traffic. So it's like at some point they need to sort of make it. They need to make it a video game, but at the same time, still have a realistic feeling. But there are parts of the U.S. that feel very realistic, and other parts that feel like a video game. For me, anyway. And we want to go right there. What was that? What was that sound? Alright, I'm keeping an eye on things here. Alright. Back this out a little bit. Oh, you know what? We'll do that, and then we'll do that. There we go. There we go. Yeah, I'm really curious to see what Colorado looks like. I think they did a good job with Utah. And there are places that I've been in Utah. There are places I've lived in Utah, and when I drive through them in ATS, it just feels like that part of the world. It's really, really, it's really accurately rendered. Accurately, they just did a really good job with it. Other places, not so much. There's places in Idaho. I drove somewhere a couple weeks ago. There was grass, just like tall brown grass, kind of waving on both sides of the highway, and yeah, that's exactly the sort of thing you see in Idaho. Very well done. And we are, yes. Yep, we're still good. And I'm going to take a look back out here too. Now, something else I've thought about them doing is going in a different direction. Deckers, what's happening? How you doing? They could always go in a different direction and do, I don't know, Japan. I'd buy that. Brazil, maybe, with some of those really terrifying roads through the mountains. That'd be fun. Alaska. Discovery Channel is supposed to release an Alaskan truck simulator. I have it in my wish list on Steam, but everything I've ever bought, every video game I've ever bought made by Discovery is terrible. They're so bad. But if SCS made an Alaskan truck simulator, I think that would be amazing. Busy on the farm? What kind of farm? Dairy farm or arable farm? I learned this stuff from Farming Simulator. That's how I know to ask these questions. Sheep farm. Right on. Sheep for meat, sheep for wool. Oh, right on. All right, let me ask you a dumb question. After you take all the wool off the sheep, I'm not I'm not being funny when I say this. This is a serious question. Like, what do you do to keep them warm? Do you turn the heat up where they live, or do you put little coats on them? Meat? Okay. Right on.
American 413, you are 69er miles south. Descend and maintain 2,000 feet. Expect vectors ILS runway 28 approach.
After 20 miles away. Hang on. Let me take a look at something right here. Yeah, we're going to start our descent right in here somewhere. So that should be 5 or 10 minutes from now. You know, I'm mostly vegan, but well, I can't say vegan. I'm mostly vegan except for all the meat that I consume. I try to eat as healthy as I can, and I stay away from red meat as much as possible, but the way that I work out and the amount of protein that I need, I just have never been able to find a way to balance my diet all vegan. It's like I have to eat meat. Plus, it's so good. It's delicious. Midsummer. Okay, so it's not terribly cold when you shear them, and then it's grown back a little bit by fall. Okay. Man, that's I don't know if they're ever going to bring other animals into cattle and crops, but as detailed as the beef cattle operation is, if they had something similar for portable 6571, contact Washington Center on 120.65. If they had that same level of detail and they brought sheep into the game, that'd be amazing. I have nothing but positivity for cattle and crops. It needs a lot of work. I really hope they pull it together. They seem to be, I don't know, maybe they turned the corner. And if you're hearing some leaf blowers outside, I do apologize. The landscapers come by on Monday. Oh, that sounded ridiculous when I said that out loud. The landscapers come by on Monday. Hang on, let me go make a truffle sandwich. No, it's not like that. The landscapers are outside my building and they're finishing up. They got some leaf blowers going, so you may be hearing a little bit of noise. All right, so we're going to make our turn here, and Hafner. Yeah, so we want to be at 37,400 at Hafner, and then Melton. And I don't know if you say these, I don't know if you say Melton or if you say Mike Echo Lima Tango November, but we're going to be down to 19,700. Oh, there we go. Hang on, let's look out the window. Are you kidding me? You're looking out the window of a plane and it feels like you're looking out the window of a plane. That is crazy.
Descend and maintain 6,800 feet. Expect ILS runway 17 approach via Mike Romeo Bravo transition. Cleared to Mike Romeo Bravo generic 2 Sierra Foxtrot.
Yeah, I am as well, Deckers. It's been up and down. I've got kind of a rocky relationship with the devs, but I want everybody to be successful. I know that's not possible in real life, but I just want everybody to be successful. I just want everybody to be okay. So we'll see how it goes. I'm happy with what they've done so far. I haven't really come across. Yeah, it's amazing. I haven't really come across a lot of game-breaking bugs. There's a couple little things. I got stuck in the mud on some tutorials. I tabbed out of a vehicle and was not able to tab back in, but that's little ticky-tack stuff. Yeah, agreed, Fried. I think it's got tremendous potential. All right. And I know they left a lot of things out. I'm just going to leave this window open because they're about to tell us to descend. I feel like there are, they left so many things out of the game. And if they're able to bring those things in, just the things that they said would be in the game, if they're only ever able to bring those things in, that would be amazing. But then there's even more after that that they want to bring in. Oh, check this out too. I guess I can understand why they didn't do this. But if we go here, I don't know if you've seen this. Who's that? We got a little friend in there. And I think the reason they render that outside and not inside is, for one thing, it would be kind of creepy to have a person sitting there. But also, it's a flight simulator. I don't know that it's necessarily like a people simulator. So if there was a person sitting here and they weren't rendered really, really well, could be distracting. But I do think it's funny. You can see them when you're outside. All right. Let's take a look here. Oh, that's just getting louder and louder outside. I'm going to go out on the balcony and start throwing rocks at them. All right. Now, sometimes what will happen is as we get, see if I can zoom out to it. Now, we're still a little bit far away. But as we get closer into the approach and the pattern and everything, sometimes we'll stay on the managed nav path. Sometimes we'll go off it and have to use a heading to get all the way in. Yeah, good point, Deckers. Good point. I mean, I could do without it. Unless it was done really, really well, I can do without it. And even if they did do it really, really well, I think you would need to be able to, there would have to be an option to turn your co-pilot off. All right, we're going to 135.4. All right. Washington Center. Oh my goodness, with the leaf blowers. You're killing me. All right. We're getting into some clouds here, so we're going to get some icing control on. This number, I don't know what it is about this number that really creeps me out, but right down here, 25 degrees below zero at the tip. That is very chilly. It may be clear. It was raining earlier where I am, and I always fly with the real weather on, but it's cleared up a little bit and it's sunnier now, so hopefully we get a nice view when we're coming into Raleigh. We get a nice view all the way down. Are they on my balcony right now with the leaf blowers? I'm I'm way up in the building. I'm not at ground level. So hopefully they're not. That would be very distressing. All right, and we're getting to, yeah, these magenta numbers on the waypoint are our constraints, and I believe they represent, for airways over and above what our company profile has in for how we're meant to fly the plane, there are also speed and altitude requirements for the jetways that we're in. Yeah, it's a crazy occupation, Deckers, because, oh, you can't really hear them? Fantastic. That's good to know. Because what they say about pilots is that it's an incredibly boring job, and you really, it's just paperwork and going through checklists endlessly. It's just boring. and nothing happens, and it's boring until there's a life-threatening emergency. So you do nothing for hours or days at a time, just absolutely routine, and then something goes horribly wrong. I don't know. I I'll be real with you. I don't think I'm built for that. And that is, wow, you can almost see this. Okay, so we've got a 75 knot. It's not quite a headwind. It's not quite a crosswind. This arrow right here shows that we've got a 75 knot wind blowing from our right to our left and from our front to our back. And if you look right down here, you can see we're crabbing just the tiniest bit. The tail of the aircraft is just a little bit off course. Interesting. Yeah, really good detail in this game. I mean, I get what people are saying about it being a sightseeing simulator. I understand why they're saying that. I just don't. I don't agree. I don't agree. Yeah, fried. I think flying a plane, driving a train, and driving a truck, I think that's the reason these sims are as popular as they are, is that a lot of people want just the fun parts of doing it without the responsibility, right? And always being away from home. And, well, I think pilots make pretty good money. I don't know what people get paid to operate trains and drive trucks. Probably not as much as pilots. But, yeah, I've heard these described as work simulators, because so much of this is 300, you got it. So much of this it's just work. It's just stuff people do for a living. All right, so things are going to start happening quickly now. So we're going to dial in 300. And before I start descending, so we'll look right here. Our engines are at just about 78%, both of them. That's power. When we select this new altitude, it's going to take a minute to do the math on everything, but the first thing it's going to do is cut power, and that's the software doing that. That's not me. And after the plane has slowed down, then it will begin descending. And I believe the reason for that sequence is if it just nosed over and began descending, it would accelerate. It would end up going too fast. So engines cut, bleed off a little bit of airspeed, and then we begin our descent. And I think so. My man, I am descending. Jeezy Pete's. You know, I haven't crashed too many planes in the Sims so far. So far. A few, but not many. All right, and I'm going to back this off a little bit, and we're going to turn our weather back on, which is right here. This is the downside to track IR with no button box, is when you're trying to look at something, if you're not lined up exactly, it's like the view keeps drifting out of the trigger, and you're just kind of hunting around there trying to find it. All right, seatbelt lights are on. We're good here. We're good here. Okay. And I'm going to take another look at the VFR map. It just goes to a black screen and says you crashed. There's no, it's not like DCS where there's a huge fireball and the wings break off and the thing flips over and just starts burning. I think it's sort of the same attitude that Codemasters has for the F1 franchise. As I understand it, Formula One, when they licensed the use of the Formula One brand to Codemasters, they told them that all crashes would be not dramatic. You know, so it doesn't matter how hard you crash in the F1 franchise, it's really just sort of, you know, you hit the wall, the wheels come off, but they stay on the straps. It's almost impossible to flip the car, and I think that was very intentional because they are so concerned about safety. So I think Asobo and Microsoft did the same thing where they made it's not fun to crash a plane, it just goes to a black screen. That's my theory anyway. I could be wrong about that. There's no, it's not like Wreckfest or BeamNG or something where you can have fun smashing up planes. All right. Descend and maintain flight level 180. You got it. All right. And it'll repeat the same process. It's going to cut power. And then it'll nose over. And I'm just confirming we do, yep, seatbelt sign is on. Seatbelt, no smoking. Yeah, this stuff, so where it says seatbelts and no smoking, this is not in base game because in base game these switches don't operate. So this stuff is, I mean, I keep looking up here just out of habit, but I could just as easily look down here. Yeah, I think that's why they did it. So it doesn't, sort of glamorize plane crashes. Plane crashes suck. That's not something you want to make light of. Particularly not for a sim that is made for people that are really into aviation. All right. 280, descending 180. SBV, SBV, and we're, yeah, when we hop back out to here, yeah, we're just about to begin our approach. Really not far at all. Oh, and I hopped in a little biplane, and I went and found my condo, and it is disturbingly accurate. It's 3D, and it somehow has a skin on it. Right? Like, I know they didn't build that. They built the technology that allows that to happen automatically. But it is my building with, I mean, it's the same color, it's got the same highlights, it for lack of a better word, it's painted just as my building is. It's very, very strange to see it. All right. Continue to Sierra Bravo Victor. All right, and what I'm going to try to do is when we get close, I'm going to get ATIS. Try to get ATIS for KRDU because there is a screen down here. Is it under program? Is it under performance? Yep. Where we would put in pressure, temp, and wind, if we can. All right, and we are, yep. I don't think it'll be, going through these clouds, I don't think it'll be a big deal. We'll have good visibility the whole way down. And I'm going to bring this in one more time. So by SBV, Sierra Bravo Victor, we want to be under 12,000 feet. So we've got another, yeah, about another 10,000 feet to go in 17 miles. We may be that low, we may not be. This is what I was saying earlier, where this doesn't all coordinate between the in-game ATC the flight plan you create, if you bring in a flight plan from Little Navmap or something, it doesn't all quite line up 100% accurate. And I know in X-Plane it's a lot better. And so a lot of people have, since this game was released, they've sort of given it a hard time for not being as accurate a sim as X-Plane. But I believe that stuff will be added later. I certainly hope it is. Wouldn't be much of a flight sim if they never brought those things in. All right. And we're going to make a big turn here. And they'll probably send us down to like 5,000 feet pretty soon. There you go. Engine spool back up. Back outside. There we are. It's really hard not to look at the terrain when you're in this sim. It's almost distracting. Just trying to spot stuff. It really does feel like being in a plane. You just want to look at things. All right, we'll go back here.
Portable 6571 descent and maintain 12,000 feet. Keep speed below 280 knots.
Interesting. So our constraint for SBV was 12,000, and they told us to descend to 12,000 when we got to SBV. I wonder if I've got it backwards for these constraints. I thought it was like a speed limit where you had to be under it by that point, but maybe it's almost like an advisory, letting you know that's what you need to begin doing when you get to that point. I guess I'll have to watch more videos. Try to figure all this out. All right. Descend and maintain 12,000. Keep speed below 280. We're just a little bit above 280. Yeah, there was a lot more traffic when we were up around DC and New York City. I've watched a lot of people fly with VATSIM. I want to try it. I have no problem saying I am intimidated by VATSIM. It's like I can barely fly the plane, and adding in a real air traffic controller, I don't know. It's a bit much, but I would like to get there. And apparently what VATSIM does is it integrates FlightSim20, X-Plane, and FSX. I think that's what I saw. That because all these sims represent real places in the real world, that you can have multiple pilots in multiple sims all being controlled by VATSIM. I might be wrong about that, but that was what I thought I heard. So, yep. I mean, I like the idea of it being crowded, and I'm still curious how they plan to make the real planes work. So, when I start the sim, I always start it with real aircraft. And what that is supposed to be is that every plane that is really in the air, according to FlightAware, will be replicated in the game. But from when that was first rolled out, people were asking, like, wait a minute, how's that going to work? Because at a place like JFK on a Friday night, you've got planes landing every 2.5 minutes. Where are they going to put your plane? Right? How would they slot it in between all those airliners? So I feel like that system isn't quite, I don't know, it's not done yet. It needs a little bit of work. But for me, the next best thing is VATSIM, where it's you and a whole bunch of other sim pilots. I wouldn't mind getting that going. I really want to. I'm just, like I said, I'm stalling because I'm embarrassed. I'm intimidated. But first step is being able to fly this plane well, being able to fly it safely. And then we'll get VATSIM going. All right, so if we descend and maintain 3,000, you got it. So now, the next thing we need to see is, I certainly did.
Descend and maintain 3,000 feet, portable 6571.
As we get toward KRDU, they will give us some, could be right here. We'll get some ATIS.
Tree for portable 6571.
And we'll get this thing programmed.
Raleigh approach, portable 6571 is out of 11,100 feet for 3,000 feet. Portable 6571 Raleigh approach, continue to Villa as planned. Altimeter tree 0.09er.
3009er, you got it. All right. And we'll be able to see, hopefully, a lot better as we get down under these clouds. I watched he's a real 737 pilot.
571 descend and maintain 8,000 feet, keep speed below 210 knots.
All right, so we're going to level off here at 10,000. Because there is, in the US, you need to be under 250 when you're under 10,000. So we have this tick mark here now. We have this magenta mark right at 250. So we're leveling off with the throttles almost at 0 to bleed airspeed. Once our airspeed is,
Did you hear my last transmission?
jeez. Once our airspeed is down,
Descend and maintain 8,000 feet, keep speed below 210 knots, portable 6571.
once our airspeed is down, then we'll continue descending. Now, she said 3,000. He said 8,000. Descend and maintain 8,000. Okay. I just do what they tell me. So again, that's the Airbus software. Blending altitude changes and speed and everything else, using the throttle to keep everything exactly where it needs to be. All right, so looking now on this, if I can get it, looking now on this display, we're going to track out and around and then come back onto runway 5 left. So if everything works properly, we will just fly straight along these waypoints, continuing to descend. And then we'll get ILS capture and fly right in. So that fly-by-wire mod adds a lot of this stuff. It changes this display dramatically, and it adds some things up here. I believe it does some things with the autopilot as well, and the flight management system.
Portable 6571 descend and maintain 3,000 feet.
All right, now we're going to 3,000. So 3,000. Before I forget,
Descend and maintain 3,000 feet, portable 6571.
and it does have all these waypoints in here. So we'll see if we continue tracking around those. Yep, looks like we are. want, is it this one? I would definitely recommend. I would definitely recommend this sim. It's so relaxing. And we haven't. I know we're supposed to descend to 3,000, but we're waiting to bring our airspeed down. There we go.
Portable 6571, please expedite your descent to 3,000 feet.
I'm on it. Yep. So what it just did was it jumped off. Get this spun around. Yep, it jumped off the nav system that we were on, and it skipped over the last few waypoints and started taking us directly into concentrating. Started taking us directly into runway 5 left, even though we're perpendicular to it and it's sort of behind us. So what I did was jumped over to sort of a manual heading mode. And I took this little bug right here that's next to 270. Yep, software is acting up a little bit. We're descending too slowly, right? We want to be at 3,000 feet. We're descending too slowly. And there we go. And we're not on course anymore. So before, this course was a solid green line. Now it's a dotted green line. When it went to a dotted green line, we no longer were following it, and we tried to go directly to runway 5 left, and we skipped these waypoints in here. Sometimes it follows them, sometimes it does not. So what we're going to need to do is use our heading and do this manually. So we're just going to fly up this green line and then around and line up with runway 5 left. But we're going a little too fast, and we're not descending quickly enough. I think the reason why is if we were descending quickly enough to be at 3,000 feet when ATC wants us there, we'd be going way too fast. So the airplane is trying to balance those two things. Now originally it did tell us, ATC told us to go to 3,000 feet, and then a few minutes later a different ATC told us to go to 8,000 feet. So I feel like had we gone to 3,000 feet as we were originally instructed to, we would have got there in time and we wouldn't be having these problems right now. We've only got another couple thousand feet to go, and we've got, I don't know, probably a 12 or 15 mile loop. So everything should line up okay. But at the moment, it's not, yeah, not exactly perfect. Right here, no decision height. That is, I believe the term is minima, and that is something that needs to be programmed in. And it is, there's a very specific definition of it, but it is essentially the altitude by which you have to be able to clearly see the runway. If you have not seen the runway by that altitude, you have to declare a go around. So I did not program that in. It's, again, one of the things that I need to learn properly if I want to get this all configured. And we also did not get our airport information as far as pressure, wind, and what was the third one? Pressure, wind, and temperature is the other one. Right, so our bug is flying us almost on a 270. We're going to start spinning this over now. Bring it over this way, and we'll start making our turn to the south. Not what I want. That's the one I want. I do drift out of the triggers quite a bit. I feel like at some point it is going to cause me to crash the plane, but not today. All right, we got another 1,000 feet to go.
American 2745, please expedite your climb to 10,000 feet.
I know I'm getting quiet. I'm really concentrating right now.
American 2745, descend and maintain 3,400 feet. Portable 6571, please expedite your descent to 3,000 feet.
Oh, you know, buddy, you messed me up when you sent me back to 8,000.
And maintain 3,400 feet, American 2745.
All right, so we're going to head more or less due south. And then as we start to intersect the 050 line right here, I'll put on the ILS. I'll switch over the displays to ILS. It'll show when we cross, and we'll turn on the localizer and make our turn for runway 5. All right, so there's 3,000 feet, 200 knots, more or less. And the airport.
Portable 6571, you are 18 miles southwest of Raleigh. Maintain present heading and altitude. Contact Raleigh Tower on 119er decimal tree.
All right. There's our approach clearance.
Present heading and altitude. Tower on 119er decimal tree, portable 657. Portable 657, Raleigh Tower, portable 657.
What is happening right now? All right, 3009er. Wind is calm. I'm not going to mess with. I'm not going to mess with the FMS at the moment. I feel like we've got too many other things going on. All right, so now we're going to intersect this purple line in front of us right here, or this purple line is going to move in to show when we're lined up. And we don't want to wait till it's all the way lined up because we do still have to make a turn. So right about now. And did I not?
128 decimal tree, portable 6571.
All right. You got to keep it together. Another couple minutes. We're going to be all right.
Generic 1 Bravo Lima, exit runway when able.
All right, so I did wait a little bit too long to get on the localizer, but we will swing back around. We're 19 miles from the airport, so we've got plenty of time to get everything lined up. And this little, so we're at 3,000 feet, 19 miles out, 18 and a half miles out. This little purple triangle right up here on our altimeter tape is where we'll intersect the glide slope. So we're well under it right now. So we'll just continue flying until we cross through it, and then that'll put us on the glide slope. All right, so we need to go a little bit past 050. And that'll bring this purple line back over here. When these two line up, then we'll turn back on 050. This is really, really sloppy. And like I said, I don't know exactly what I'm doing. I'm just kind of figuring this stuff out. but I am enjoying it. All right, so we're going to get some flaps down and get started.
Generic 1 Bravo Lima, turn next taxiway.
All right, that's flaps 1.
Generic 1 Bravo Lima, contact ground on ONE 21.9er.
And that looks like there's our runway right there.
Next taxiway.
Nope, we just turned on final, Deckers. There's our runway right there. We're waiting for these two to line up. And we do have the localizer locked in, so it's going to fly us down this line straight to the runway.
Endeavor 4857, exit runway when able.
All right, so we're turning just a little bit, staying lined up, and then we're looking for this purple mark to begin moving down the tape.
Tower Southwest 2540, ready to go runway 5 left IFR to Orlando.
And we're good. Auto brakes to max. Spoilers are armed.
Traffic is generic on the runway. Endeavor 4857, contact ground on ONE 21.9er.
And I will go third person after we get all the flaps and gear and everything. All right, so here's our little mark moving down now. So this is where we're going to intercept the glide slope. So we will go to approach now. Localizer is just left to right. Approach is altitude as well. We also want, if I can find the trigger, there we go. Landing lights on. Looks like this aircraft is landing over me. Maybe. Yeah, it's a bit of a cluster sometimes when you're in the game with other pilots. All right, 10 miles. Gear down. Flaps 2. And again, we're still managed airspeed. We're still managed airspeed, so as we lower the flaps, the throttles will compensate and adjust for all that. This Cat 3 single indicates the auto land, so the plane can land itself, and that's sort of what we're going to do today. Not on purpose, just I really don't know how to fly this plane that well yet. All right, so we are on the localizer, we are on glide slope. And I think, yep, at some point it's going to tell us we're cleared to land. That is coming up on 6 miles. Flaps 3. And our little purple tick on the speed tape drops down. So the software is flying the aircraft slower now as we continue to extend the flaps. And then at 5 miles, we'll go full flaps. That's 1,000 feet. Oh, that's cool. There's somebody landing on 5 right, just as we're landing on 5 left. Hell yeah. That's 600 feet. So this system can fly the rollout as well. Well, fly the rollout. It will continue to keep the aircraft centered down the runway after you touch down. It can do that. Sometimes it does, sometimes it does not. And also the flare is going to be very late. We're really going to do kind of a carrier landing, but that's just the way the sim is right now. So we see land in the MFD now. And we're going to see flare when we get to about 50 feet. It's going to tell me to bring the throttles back.
60, 50, 40,
Flare.
30, 20, retard.
All right, that triple beep is, there we go. And it does say rollout, so we are still, yep, the plane is still sort of flying itself, but we're going to turn this stuff off now. Auto throttle off. Flight director and landing system off. Let's get off the runway. There we go. Bring the reversers in. You know what? After almost 2 hours, the idea that I would stuff the plane on the landing is... I get so much anxiety about that. All right. And I'm not going to pull all the way into parking. I'm not going to mess with ATC anymore. Let's just get off the runway. Get over onto a taxiway. Good there. We're good there. All right, let's just get over on a taxiway and we'll call it. The stress. I say it's a relaxing game. I don't know. Maybe if you're not streaming it, it is. When you're streaming, it's a little bit more stressful. All right. Stop right here. Set the brakes. There we are. So this is the, it's by Fly-by-Wire is the modding crew. It's on GitHub. And this is the a32nx mod. Adds a bunch of functionality to the Airbus that is not included in base game. We just flew from Kennedy to Raleigh-Durham. That's it. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate you. Thanks. Hey, you know what? It's there's 3 different copies of the game. There's one that's like 60, there's one that's 90, there's one that's 120. Get the $60 one. It's well worth it. It's well worth it. It's a really fun sim. All right. Thanks, everybody. See you next time. Take care.